Welcome everybody. I'm glad to have with me today Fran Wells and Richard Nesbitt, and it is time for the Dublin-Laurens County Black Festival Committee to put everything into action, all this hard work y'all been doing, because people don't realize this work goes on year round, don't it, Fran?
It does. It does. And it has been an extremely hard year for Richard and I both, because we both been in the hospital this year. So it's been a little slow, but we got it coming together.
There's nothing like good health. And before we get going on the Black Festival Committee, I want to talk about something that was important to Dr. King and that is important to y'all's committee, because I know both of you. But the things that's going on around our country. Fran, you and I talked about it off camera a while ago, but it just seems like there's so much hate, Richard. And we look just the past few weeks at the Jewish communities that are being attacked, and the church out in Fort Worth, Texas this past weekend, the guy went in and killed some of the parishioners during communion. What's going on in our community, and what can we do, do you think, Richard? You work with the VA. You've been involved with this for many years, and you and I have seen things change through the years, but what can we do in our community to share the love of Christ and to try to change these kind of things?
Well, it could start at the community level. We work to try to bring things together. First of all, we have to realize that we are first and foremost Americans. We are Democrats and Republicans second.
Yes.
We have to actually work together and try to bring people together. That's what Fran and the Black Festival try to do. We don't see color. We are seeing that all of us as individuals. So we work to try to bring each other together and put the word of Christ in everyone, because that's what God was about. He was about all of us working together for the benefit of the greater good.
Yeah, amen. Fran, I know you're very involved in your church, and this is something important to you. What do you think about it?
Personally, I think that we're pulling away from God. We need to get back to the old roots of worshiping and mean what we mean when we go to church, and stop playing church, and just start asking God to help us and start sharing love and showing love. People are being individualized now. When I was growing up, everybody in the community would help each other. Mm-hmm. But now communities are individual people are just there. You don't even know your neighbors. And we need to get back to knowing our neighbors and knowing who we are in Christ, and learning to love each other, and go back to what the Bible tells us. Yeah. Love is the foremost and the greatest of all of his commands. And
we need to get back in church.
Exactly.
I know we go to church. A lot of people go to church, but so many people, we were growing up, you had to get there early to get a pew.
You did.
Now, there's plenty of places to sit. I don't care what church you go to.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to get back. And, I think back at right after those terrorists bombed those towers on 9/11, the churches were full for weeks. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we went back to our regular life. We don't need God no more.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. And I like to add this as a caveat too, is that, I've been in the military, and there are no greater country than America. Mm-hmm. America, one of the greatest countries in the world. Even with our shortcomings, we don't want to live anywhere else. We got to realize that we are all in this America together, that we are not going to be the America that our founders vision us to be until we include all of Americans.
Mm-hmm. I had Miss Irwin and Mr. Holder on a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the parade, and they've got a big, we have the second largest parade in the state, and that says a lot. Only behind Atlanta,
right.
Dr. King's home, and I can understand that, but, when we can outdo Columbus and Augusta and places like that, Dublin has really done, and Ms. Irwin and Mr. Holder and that committee has done a wonderful job putting together a great parade, and that's something you mentioned a minute ago, whether black or white, and I looked during that MLK parade, and there's all races out there. There's Hispanics, there's black, there's white. You just said it a while ago, there's no color. It don't matter. We're all one. We're God's children. We're all Americans. Mm-hmm. And that's what that parade looks like. let's talk about the breakfast. Going to do something new this year, friend.
Yes, the breakfast will be held January the 20th at Dublin Middle School. This year we will not have a speaker, but we will have a dramatic play or scenario in reference to our theme, which is African American and the vote. So it's going to be centered around voting and the right that we had to work to get to vote and make sure all people are registered to vote. Because, earlier in the year they purged millions of names from the voter registration, but the judge made them go back and add names. But we need to make sure our name is on the voters registration list.
And I just saw this past week, they purged a lot more, and the judge held it, let them go through with it. So, and we want to stress to people, you got to register to vote. And just because you voted 30 years ago, don't mean you're still on the roll. So, and listen, vote, vote. However you vote, go vote. That's one of the few rights we have left. You talked about Richard serving in the military. So many people fought for that right, for the very freedoms that we enjoy today.
Right.
Yeah, and Fran was saying that they purge people from, and that is true. But the thing is, though, as the people that vote, and vote is the power. If you feel like that you have not voted and your name have been purged from the roster, go re-register.
Yeah.
Just go re-register again. You don't have to let that be a crippling stone for you. Just re-register.
Yeah. Why do you think, Fran, you talk to a lot of people in the community, why don't people vote?
Most people say, well, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't matter. But it does matter. That one vote would make a difference. And if you want to have something to say, voting is your right to say something. And we need to learn that we can speak our opinion. We can do it in a positive manner. You can say whatever you want to say, but if you be negative about something, that negativity wears off on other people, and it's a dominoes effect. So we need to have a positive dominoes effect and put everything back in place as Dr. King would want us to have. He died for us. Our foreparents died for us, and they shared so much with us. And now we just seem like old people owe us something. No, nobody owes you anything. You owe it to yourself and to God, who is our creator.
And don't, listen, if you're watching us now and you say my vote don't count, that don't hold water. I'm telling you, for someone that covers elections every time, I can tell you, just a few years ago, Reverend Carswell was on the school board. He ran against Brett Parker. Reverend Carswell lost by 3 votes.
Exactly.
Don't tell me your vote don't count. This past election, we had one school board race that was decided by 12 votes. Regina McCrae lost by 12 votes. We had another election, a county commission race, was decided by like 16 votes. Don't say your vote don't count, because there's 16 people watching us right now that's saying, why didn't I vote? I knew Regina McCrae, or I knew whoever. I'm just using those for examples. Not that I'm supporting either candidate, but I'm just letting people know your vote does count.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
There's some close elections. I know of an election happened in Florida recently, and it was a tie vote. And they counted them again. It was another tie. They counted it one other time. It was still a tie. Well, they checked in Freeport, Florida. They checked the city charter, and it went back 150-something years. And if you recounted them twice, on the third time, you had to draw straws. So that mayor's race was decided by drawing straws. Don't say your vote don't count. Your vote counts.
It counts. I had a friend a few years ago. We was very good friends, and we in a local election, and we actually supported different candidates. Of course, his candidate won and mine didn't. And he came up and he said, my candidate won and yours didn't. I said, that's right, that's fine, but my vote cancel yours out.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, whether your candidate wins or not, you participated in the process.
Exactly.
So we all win. And even to the candidates that just ran this past time or whenever, they win, even though they may not have got the most votes. They participate in the process. They made our system better. And I've known people that have lost before, and they come back and win the next time. So But your vote counts. That's our whole point. Be involved in the process. We want you to vote. We're going to take a break and come back, and we're actually going to talk about some of the events going on. You know, when I talk to Fran and Richard, we're going to chase rabbits everywhere, ain't we?
Oh, yeah.
We get excited about certain things, and these issues are important, and we want to stress them to you. But y'all stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
The holidays are a time for giving thanks. At Dublin Nissan, we're thankful every day that you trust us for the right vehicle at the right price.
Now at Dublin Nissan, drive the Altima Platinum for as low as $28,325.
New or used, drive home in a new ride for the holidays.
Now at Dublin Nissan, drive the Rogue S for as low as $22,855.
Sales, service, and satisfaction. Call, click, or come see us. Dublin Nissan, the only dealer you will ever need.
I'm Glenn Register, and on behalf of all the employees at Hometown Supply, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to serve you over the past 34 years. The holiday season is here, and we have everything from four-wheelers and golf carts to cell phones and computers to flat screens and appliances. We have affordable payment plans to fit your budget. Just remember, if you can't do business at Hometown Supply, you just can't do business.
Welcome back, everybody. Continuing my conversation with Richard Nesbitt and Fran Wells. And we've got 12 different events this year, Fran. We already had one. We had the Miss Black Festival Pageant. Beautiful young ladies participating. And Brenda Smith does a phenomenal job with that.
Yes, she does. She does. It was awesome. I didn't make it this year due to the fact that I was in the hospital, but I heard that everything went nicely and that the girls was beautiful. I saw some of the pictures, but you know, we do what we have to do. But with that, we have our senior citizen pageant coming up on the 19th of January, and these where we honor our mature ladies. I won't say older, but our mature ladies. And they love to strut their stuff, and we're still looking for participants. And you know, we have a great time with that. There's no entry fee, so if they want to be in, they can just contact us and they can go ahead and be in. Actually, we will meet this afternoon at 4 o'clock at the library. So that's our first event. And
Where is it at?
It's going to be held at New Vision Baptist Church in Dublin. Reverend Horace Austin is the pastor. And then followed by that will be our breakfast, which is the 20th. And that's always a huge turnout. Tickets are on sale. They're $20 and $200 per table. So if they need tickets, they need to let us know.
And that's at Dublin Middle School?
Dublin Middle School at 9 o'clock. And normally we out by 11 so they can go eat breakfast and then go have lunch
Go
later.
have lunch.
Go have lunch
We
later.
just eat all day that day. huh?
all day, but
And
it's,
it's usually sold out. I mean, it's a packed house. So you want to buy a table, you want to get a ticket because I don't know how many tickets y'all sell, but that's usually a packed house.
yes. Last year we had, I think it was right at $475. So, you know,
Wow.
if you want a ticket, you need to let us know, because once we sell out, that's it. We will not sell tickets at the door because we don't have any place to seat the people. So,
Richard, what's your favorite event?
My favorite event is, of course, I'm the committee chair of this. And this. I actually have two. Probably my most favorite one is the Soul Food Fest. And not only does, you know, me and Fran work to try to help pull that together, but I also, me and my wife, like to participate by cooking and setting up a table and help serving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite to cover. To go around those tables and taste of that food. So Soul Food Fest is a good one. Fran, what's one of your favorites?
I would have to say my favorite would be the breakfast. And it's because there's so many people there and we have time to fellowship and see each other in a natural setting. It's not about who's in charge or who's who. It's all about fellowship and love. And that's one of the things that we can bridge the gap with is doing the breakfast, because we bring all people together. We have people from out of town. We have people that came from Atlanta to share in our breakfast, and they're like, wow, we don't have anything this big. So that would be my favorite.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about the breakfast, senior citizens, the beauty pageant, the Soul Food Fest. Let's run down the other.
we have, this year we have a men's lunch and learn, which will be held at Washington Street Presbyterian. And Brother Cecil Kennel Walters will be in charge of that. And we want all men to come out. It'll be a round table discussion on how can we bring our young men back to the forefront of all colors, all races. It doesn't matter. All our young men are falling by the wayside, so we need to bring them back. And that's our future, and that's our tomorrow, so we need to work with those men to get them back into the right setting. And then we have our annual ministers program, which will be held at St. Paul AME Church. Reverend Randy Pastor will be our speaker, and Reverend Linda Geddes is our host pastor. So we want all ministers. It doesn't matter who you preach to and how you preach. If you're a minister, come on out. And if you're not a minister, we still want you there, because Reverend Pastor is a great speaker. We have something to share for everybody. So that's another good one. Then we have our Senior Citizen Recognition Program, which will be held at New Bible Believers Baptist Church. And that's where we honor our seniors, our mature ladies and men and women from churches and various locations. You know, let them know that they hadn't been forgotten. We still love them, and we still recognize them, because we're standing on their shoulders.
Yep.
And we need someone to stand on our shoulders. So we need to recognize them while they're here, because once they pass on, there's nothing we can say they would know about.
Yeah.
So that's one of our other major events that we would love to have a huge turnout. We want the church to be full.
Of course, our youth rally is going to be at Buckeye this year, right?
Yes, it's going to be at Buckeye at 11 a.m. on the third Saturday. Reverend David G. Flowers is our host pastor. We want all youth in the community to come out and participate. We normally have an awesome time. We will serve refreshments once it's concluded. And our youth do a dynamic job. All of them are not in gangs. All of them are not in jail. So
That's right.
Let's support our youth. Get behind them and praise them for what they're doing. We praise, I would like to give a shout out to Dublin High School for winning the state championship. It's been many years since they won that. Let's praise our young kids and let them know that we appreciate them doing a hard job.
Yeah, and I get to see the high school kids at a different angle, but I think of some of the guys that won the state championship. Well, they're also over in the culinary class, learning how to cook. And you say, well, why does a guy want to know how to cook? Well, let me tell you what man don't love to cook and to learn how to prepare food? But I see some of these same guys that are knocking people's heads off on the football field in there in that culinary class, competing also on a high level, and also in the classroom competing on a high level. So you're right. We do have a gang problem in most communities in this country, but you know, we don't hear about a lot of these things, and that's why these things are important, because we have a chance to promote our young people and to show them by. And I know last year, I think it was at Washington Street Presbyterian when we did the youth rally, but to see that crowd and those young people, and they see you sitting out there supporting them, and I just think that's a wonderful event. So. Got a lot of good things lined up. We're going to take another break, and we're going to come back and wrap things up right after this. Stay with us.
Quality products and installations since 1985. That's 4 Seasons.
With Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance, I can get auto, home, life, even banking all in one place. Pretty convenient if you ask me.
Always the home team, Georgia Farm Bureau Insurance. Visit us online at gfbinsurance.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to wrap things up with Fran Wells and Richard Nesbitt. Richard, we've got a couple events we hadn't mentioned. Of course, the awards banquet's always a good one.
Yeah, the award banquet is always a great event for us, and we've always tried to get dynamic speakers, and we're we're working on a dynamic speaker now, so we don't want to make that announcement at this point, but we will do it at another date. But the board banquet is a good event for us. It allows us to award some of our outstanding citizens, youth, senior citizens, man of the year, minister of the year, that has done great things to bring about the improvement and the betterment of our community.
Okay, and legacy readers, that's another good one.
Legacy Read is going to be held at the middle school, right there, friend. And what it is, we have different people from the community to get out, and they'll read, and it's like a storytelling, and that's to get to culminate our program. That's really, really good, and it's very educational and informative.
And Miss Hodges, she'll be heading that up.
Yes, Ms. French and Hodges.
Yeah, she does a wonderful job. If anybody knows the spoken word, Ms. Hodges knows it. And it's always a treat anytime you're in her presence, first of all, but second of all, when you see what they've actually done. And a lot of work goes into this. So, friends, any event that we have not covered?
I want to talk a little bit about the new teachers orientation.
Okay.
We've held this, last 2 years. Last 2 years, and it's just what we're, as the Black Festival Committee wants to do. We want to recognize our educators, especially our new ones, because without educators, there would be no other profession. And I was in the military through all the training and everything that I went through. It was always somewhere in there to teach me. So a new teachers orientation, we want to show our appreciation for them. We're going to do something a little different this year. We want every school in Dublin and Lawrence County to participate in this. If they have a new teacher, we want them to send them to this, and we want to show our appreciation. And this time, we want to be able to meet with them during orientation, so they won't have to come to a particular place, but we're going to come to them.
Well, good. That ought to work out good. But this is a great thing because our educators are the backbone of any community. Right. And we're either going to build more prisons or we're going to educate our kids. And I'd go with the latter. I think we need to educate our kids. Before we go, I want to ask each one of you. We have not talked as much about Dr. King in this interview that I'd like to, but Dr. King was a great man, and he was special to our community because he came to our community at 15 years old to be in an oratory contest, not even knowing the great man he would become when he came to Dublin that day and came to First AB Church. And we should be proud of the monument that we have downtown across from First AB Church. But I want to ask both of you before we go, if Dr. King had lived longer, where do you think we would be, first of all, Richard? Where do you think we would be in our race relations in the United States?
Dr. King, he teach love and nonviolence. And I think we won't be where we should be, but I think we'll be a lot further than we are right now.
Fran?
If Dr. King was still living at this point, I believe that we would not have the type of violence that we're experiencing. For instance, the church shootings, the school shootings, because I think he would emphasize and pull people together to emphasize why would we want to hurt our most important people, which is our churches and our schools. Why would you want to kill a child in a classroom? You know, I feel like he would teach more of the nonviolence issues on that side of the spectrum. You know, I have a dream speech speaks volumes. I think if people will pull that speech out and sit down and just take each line word for word and really analyze it, that would cut down on some of the violence. Because that was his dream. And that vision came from God, because I feel like he was a man of God, and people of God have a vision because God gives them those visions. So I feel like we wouldn't have the type of violence. Yes, we would have some, but not the type, and it would not be on the spectrum that it's on at this point.
Yeah, I agree. He was taken from us way too early, at such an early age. And we could only dream ourselves if he were still alive today, the differences, because he was not for black people. He was for white people and black people, poor people. He was for all people. He was a child of God, and you just said there was people all through the Bible had visions, just like he had a vision. And I think there's a lot of insight to that. But he had many more good speeches that people ought to listen to. But that is one of his most famous speeches. But if you have not been down, if you're new to Dublin, and you're saying, what are they talking about, this monument? It's over on Martin Luther King Drive, Telfair, right there across from First Church of Nazarene, First AB Church. Beautiful monument. You ought to go down and take a look at it. But we have people from all over the country. We track this. And people from all over the country stop into Dublin and visit that monument. So it's been quite a tourist attraction.
Right.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful monument. So always good to talk to y'all. Always good to talk with you. We see each other so many times throughout the year. But this is one time I look forward to sitting down, and you'll be seeing the calendar of events starting this week. They'll be all over TV 35. We're going to be reminding you, not only through this show, but this list that Fran and Richard have shared with you. You'll be seeing the calendar of events pop up throughout our programming. We want to thank you for joining us today right here on TV 35.